So my name's Adam Adshead. I've been doing jiu-jitsu since 2004, and I set up Fachi BJJ 10 years ago now, in 2008. And yeah, it's gone like a blink of an eye, but it's kind of grown from strength to strength. And we started with like 5 or 6 guys, and we've got like 120 guys now. So it's been we kind of joke that it's like a 10-year overnight success. So, you know, it's probably like 2002, 2003. A friend of mine lent me a VHS tape of like UFC 1 and UFC 2, and I was kind of blown away by like how like this little guy, Royce Gracie, could like use like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to like dominate, submit, much bigger, like more aggressive guys. And we always said, oh, if we ever find a gym that did anything like that, we'd go and do it. And back in like 2002, 2003, like there was very little around, like in Manchester, even in the UK, there was only, you know, so many gyms dotted about, mostly down south. So it took a while for us to kind of find something, and then for the first 6 months he went and I bottled it. Like every time he'd say, oh, you should come down, and I was like, oh, like I'd find an excuse, I'd find like some kind of, you know, something to say to him to not go, because it was very daunting for me to start, you know, and it was submission wrestling, so it wasn't a gi at all, it was all no gi. And yeah, it took me about 6 months to kind of pluck up the courage to go down and try a class, which was like early 2004, you know, and by then, you know, it was starting to get a few more clubs here and there, and a couple more competitions and stuff, but it was still nowhere near what we kind of see today. So basically, the first gym that we trained at was a gym called Stockport Submission Fighting, and we trained there for like, a group of us trained there for like around 4 years, and that became Revolution Martial Arts. They rebranded, and then the coach decided to focus more on the kickboxing and the clinch side of things, and close the grappling program. So I basically decided to kind of set up my own gym, and I took 5 or 6 guys from Revolution back then. Very fortunate, like we've got a few of them still here. John Allen's a brown belt, James is a black belt now, and yeah, a few other guys. We kind of just literally from like 1 week to the next, it was almost like overnight. We finished at the one gym and then started at the next. My first coach, Phil Wright, he gave me like 12 jigsaw mats to start us off, which are those black mats there that I covered. Like I kept them, and I'll always have them on the walls. It's kind of like our first, like a bit of a starting point. Not a lot many people know that, but yeah, he did a really good, you know, favour to us to kind of give us the mats. And then after that, like I said, we just kind of built from there. I mean, it took us a long time, you know, to kind of figure out you know, what we were doing really, because at the time we were just kind of a group of friends, training partners, kind of figuring things out. But I always, from an early stage, you know, I was never the most natural at this. I always had to put the work in and get results that way. So I kind of wanted like an industrial name. You know, before I went full time here, you know, I was a music journalist. So I was big into like, you know, especially Manchester music, and I was working for a magazine called Enemy. I was their correspondent up here, and you know, I worked for various other people. So Factory Records was a great inspiration for me as a journalist and somebody who enjoyed music. Factory Records were, you know, the powerhouse in the 80s and 90s in terms of the record label who kind of released like music from like, you know, Joy Division, like Happy Mondays, like all like the big Manchester bands. And you know, I kind of stole the name, like Factory Records, Factory BJJ. It seemed like a good fit. The industrious side of nature, the fact that we're just in Greater Manchester, and yeah, it seemed to fit, and it kind of stuck ever since. Yeah, now you can start to kick me down. If you kick me down from there, yeah, exactly. So yeah, so you know, being a journalist was great, and you know, it basically afforded me a lot of time to build up the gym. You know, most guys that have gone full time kind of, they know how other kind of revenue streams, you know, you rely on that at first before you transition to support your life. And for me, it was no different. So journalism was great because I could do a lot of the stuff like, you know, album reviews, a lot of interviews and stuff like were during the day. You know, bands would be in Manchester or whatever, like during the day they had nothing to do, they'd be playing a gig at night. So I could work a lot during the day and also really late at night. So I could teach at night, or you know, sometimes I would either like finish the night class, then go to do a gig, cover a gig in Manchester City Centre, and then like write up the gig, do all the review stuff like early hours, 1, 2, 3 a.m, and then be, you know, back at it again. Why did I go full time? I mean, it was always an aspiration of mine. I was always torn between the two. Like, I loved being a journalist and I loved doing jiu-jitsu, but it was one of those things, like the nature of the industry, the magazine industry is like shrinking all the time, most stuff moving online and stuff. So it got to a position where the editor at Enemy basically said, look, you can either come down and apply for jobs and stuff and work in the office in London, or you can kind of go back in the freelance pool and do little bits and pieces like that. So it was a step back for me as a journalist, and I didn't want to move to London. My life was up here, I've always lived around here, and my gym was up here, so I kind of made the decision to focus fully on jiu-jitsu and then do a little bit of journalism, but very quickly, like within a few months, I kind of left that behind, and because the extra time that I had to do jiu-jitsu, you know, I had to make it work, so it worked out all right. Get this step, and then just controlling and settling into the top position. But there's never a right time to kind of go full time with jiu-jitsu, you know, so people are watching this, it's never going to be perfect. A lot of people think, you know, you can just jump one night to the next. There's got to be a little bit of a crossover. For me, it was great because I was kind of forced into it, because essentially I lost my job as a journalist, you know, so I had to make it work. But you know, I'd like to think that, you know, I'd have probably done that eventually at some point anyway, because deep down, like, the jiu-jitsu was always like my main passion and my main kind of like focus. So I can either start to use my worm guard to hook underneath the back of his leg. So use the worm guard, like the leg that's trapped with the worm, up behind the leg, or I can just switch to that leg on top. It doesn't really matter. It just depends on where you end up. We're really fortunate that a friend of mine, Dave Kari, who runs a gym called Voodoo in Macclesfield. Like, I trained with him years and years ago at Revolution. He put me onto a guy who was running a gym in Macclesfield, AstraZeneca's like staff gym. We ended up renting it there. Like, we just did 3 sessions a week. Put the mats down, take them up. Put the mats down, take them up. 5 or 6 guys, like every session. It was a grind, you know, like, because it was a lot of work doing all the mats every time, and also at the same time, we didn't get anybody. In that first year, I tell you, like, we got one new person in the first year of trying to like build the club. And the only reason why we got one new person was because we could only do 3 nights a week jiu-jitsu. We had to find other nights to do different things. So it wasn't the like range of gyms like there is now. So we had to, we couldn't cross-train. It was like very little options for us to cross-train. So we used to go climbing 1 night a week. We all had our factory t-shirts on. Guy asked us, what's this t-shirt? And then we ended up recruiting him, and that was it from there. So that was the start of the journey. We started in Macclesfield, AstraZeneca gym, and then when we kind of got sick and tired of like driving to and from, it took like 45-50 minutes like back and to, and we decided to move back to Stockport, to Reddish, where we were all from anyway.
Simple one guy to finish, control. This means it's harder for him to base, and I didn't want to kind of collapse him into this position with me. I always want to finish that.
You know, even if you can't get the twister hook from here, I can always put my shin to the inside and then start to bail and then come up to the leg drag from there.
So my name's Sophie. I've been training here at Factory for a good couple of years now, so beginning of 2016. I'm originally a judo athlete, so I trained judo for a long time, went to the Olympic Games, Team GB, so elite level judo athlete. When I retired from judo, I sort of found my way into BJJ. Just to keep myself fit and taking over just as a hobby more than anything else. I'll roll with anyone here because I think the vibe is very much like, you know, just get on and do it sort of thing. There's not much bitching, moaning, you know, it's all about just enjoying jiu-jitsu, which is great. So you've got that competitive edge here, but you also got the chill as well. We can come along, you know, to a class, an advanced class, you can have a chat, you can have a little laugh. And then you do your drilling as well, you know, it's not like, you know, dead regimen, which suits my style, it really suits me. I don't think every gym is like that. You know, so there's people here that will push you, make you improve, which I need goals, I need people to keep challenging me. But there's also, you know, a good social vibe, a great networking, people, you know.
I've always been famous for like training every day. You know, we're open 365, Christmas Day, New Year's Day, all these things. We've been blessed to kind of have like so many good guys over here, like for seminars. You know, some of my idols, some of my heroes, like you know guys like Hobson Mora and like JT Torres, and you know guys like Chris Hauter and John Will. And it's one of those things where, you know, we've been really fortunate to be surrounded with good people. You know, Darren and Helen Curry helped us out massively in the old days. They were the first kind of people we were under. We got graded under those guys. They helped us a lot with seminars, and we used to cross-train a lot with those guys in the early days. You know, I'm really thankful for them guys for that. I love to compete, and it's something that I think for everybody takes a little bit of time to get used to, and I was no different. I competed at white belt once. I didn't actually compete at blue belt at all, and I don't even know really why. It just kind of ended up like being that way. I was just focusing more on my training. And then purple belt, I only actually competed like a couple of times. I did like the Manchester Open, and I was fighting up a weight category, and I ended up winning that. I got a few submissions, triangles and stuff. And that was what kind of gave me kind of a bit of a spark to kind of do more competitions, because I enjoyed the success I had, even just on a local level. And before that, it was always about trying to focus on the business and trying to learn learn to coach on the fly, and then learn how to be, you know, a good jiu-jitsu practitioner on the fly. Because even though I was a purple belt and before that a blue belt, I was still, you know, I felt light years behind what guys are now at like blue and purple and stuff. So brown belt was really where I started to competing a lot more, should I say, and you know, I had some good success early on at brown belt. I got like silver at the Euros in the gi in the adult division, like light featherweight, and I got I won the no-gi Euros. That was my first ever no-gi competition. In fact, besides doing Polaris, it's still my first IBJF comp in no-gi. So those were great, and I thought I might go on a bit of a run then. And then I had a five-year losing streak. I lost every match for 5 years. I would do like the Pan Ams, the Euros, the Worlds, and I just kept losing first round. You know, I'd get like, you know, I'd get the winner every round. Every time I'd sign up, I'd get the guy that would eventually win it. And it was kind of the luck of the draw. I was just obviously nowhere near good enough as well. and it's a bit disheartening. And you know, it wasn't until I got to black belt, you know, which was like 10.5 years after starting training, that I kind of felt like my competition game started to click a bit. And now we're like, you know, 14 years in, and you know, I'm enjoying being a competitor, and I feel like you know, I can compete at the black belt level, and you know, I've done all right. You know, especially 2017 was like my best year as a competitor, but it wasn't like a lot of people think. It wasn't like this. It was really like, you know, a couple of wins like at white, and then at purple, and then like big, you know, couple of wins at brown, and then a huge barren spot where I was grinding it out, you know, getting beat, coming home, like spending loads of money, and then trying to build on that and go again. And you know, it was really important, I think, to me in that journey, because I've always been about hard work. Like the Latin phrase, Vince Omnia Industria, which is a club phrase, is industry conquers all, and you know, I just kind of had to keep that to heart and keep working, and it, you know, thankfully it's starting to kind of pay off now. So.
I got one of them players. Do you see that thing you on Musk up today? What?
I'll give you a few months to kind of like catch up and play around with some of the basics, and then we can delve a little deeper into like the reverse dollar worm guard stuff and a lot more of the back takes and stuff from there, which we've been playing around with a lot as well. So we'll leave it there for tonight. Hopefully you guys are down on Saturday. If not, then yeah, we'll see you next week. I think the main ethos of the gym, you know, being like really kind of like focused on technical jiu-jitsu for everybody, but at the same time having like not taking ourselves too seriously, having like a laid back like atmosphere and stuff where people feel comfortable, and an environment where people can exchange ideas and train hard, but like they not feel like there's too much ego in the way or people are competing against each other like unnecessarily and stuff. So